Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
Good morning, everyone. It is Friday, May 17th, 2024. My name is John Pieranunzi, and this is the opening swing. Let's begin today, as we always do, with our news. Let me find it here for us. Out of Europe, we had the core inflation rate. That was the biggest news driver out of Europe, slightly hotter. Didn't really move much. Europe is slightly down. The US is kind of bouncing around the unch mark. Coming into the US hours, we don't have an 8:30 news driver. We have leading indicators at 10 a.m. Eastern. Second tier number, Baker Hughes rig count if you are an energy guy. And we also have Waller at 10:15, and daily is not on this calendar. So overall, lighter on the news front. We're going to very quickly look at higher time frame charts. We've spent a lot of time on those, so I'm not going to waste a bunch of time here. This is just the weekly. The key to see in the weekly is we have tested the prior all-time high, and now we're below this range. So that's happened. So that's the only thing to be aware of here, is that we've gotten the test that we were looking for, and now we're below it. So the former all-time high, 33.5, it becomes an important price for me today. Let's look at our daily chart. Here it is. So one thing to notice today, is there anything that you notice that's a little different about today? We've taken out the prior day's low. We're below, trading around the prior settle. This has only happened 3 times in the month of May. It happened here, it happened here, and it's happening today. I'm paying a little bit more attention today because it happens after we've gotten the big test that we're looking for, which was the all-time high. This area, this is 33.5, the former all-time high, 37.25, which is the Wednesday high. Those are important prices for me today. Let's do something that I don't usually do, but let's take a little bit more of a look at the daily candle today and think about a few things. What do you think this candle is going to look like at the end of the day? What do you think? We've already taken the low. So do you think we're going to go the whole way back up and take the high? We could. We could also make a try at the high and get something like that, and then just kind of revert lower. And that would be a market structure top. So for me, the key area is right here, these 33.5s. That's a possibility for something we'll get today. Another possibility is this lower low could have found buyers, and then we do push up into this area, we hold, and then we take that high. That's totally a possibility. That would give us a candle that kind of looks something like this. Oops, whatever, straight up. And it gives us these kind of higher highs. This is very possible. I think this area is key, 33.5s, and our developing low. But we'll get into that on smaller time frame charts. I don't want to do too much here. Let's just move on. I just wanted to flag, hey, let's take a look at what this candle might look like. Let's be aware of that. Okay, here's our 4x5 P&F chart. See if I can center it for you. This chart, we usually look at market structure. We've been through that a lot. Impulse, balance, pullback, continuation, balance, continuation. What we want to be aware of on this chart is this area that's unauctioned, this structure, which is where the buyers won, and this area below the 83s or so, which is our gap zone. So we want to be aware of these areas, in my opinion, on this chart. This is the key. This was, in my opinion, a pretty key battle. Happened after the CPI and the buyers won. So retests of this area are important. So while in this area, take a look at this line right around these 33.5s. That to me looks like someone stepped in with an offer, and I don't know if that offer was yet filled. So that's interesting to me. But there's something else on this chart that I want to mention, which I don't really mention too much, and it's because it's a word that usually it can be kind of a sketchy word for traders, and that word is delta, cumulative delta. It's not, in my opinion, cumulative delta is not a directional indicator purely. It's contextual. But let's take a look at this. Very aggressive cumulative delta. It got higher prices. Very aggressive cumulative delta, and it got higher prices. And then what we see here is a test above the high, but very mild delta. So let's be aware of that. Let's just be aware of how delta is moving with price so far, and the buyers worked really hard here and here, and they got what they wanted. So what I'll be flagging for is if buyers try again, if we see a real big push in cumulative delta, but it's unable to get this high. Because remember, what have I been talking about since I've been bullish? I've said as long as pullbacks find support and get the old high, I stay bullish. What I'll be looking for today is, do buyers put in the effort but not get the high, or do buyers not even put in the effort? I'll be aware of that. Let's go to smaller time frame charts. Okay, here's our 2x4 PNF, 1x8, whatever you want to use. What are the important areas today? Developing overnight low, RTH low from yesterday. This area, the 33.5 region. Also kind of important is like the 41.5 area, yesterday's initial balance high. I'm just kind of aware of that area. And obviously we have the 50 strike, yesterday's RTH high. These 60s are just one vol up. It's not a structured target, it's just a measure of market movement. Then we have the 75s, but I will be aware of these 60s if we get there. Looking below, we have this area, the 03s, 08s, roughly. This is where I would expect the support to come in ahead of this area if it does. And then below, we have our gap zone right here. Below our gap zone, the 75s region, key test, and then below the prior week's high, 64s. This is the key area. This is as low as I'll plan for today. Not to say that something couldn't happen and we get below this today. Anything's possible, but below this, I have stock zones that I create every day. So I don't think we have to go over that in such detail. Let's discuss some ways that price could move. And let's be aware that right now, in my opinion, the question that everybody's asking is, do we take the low? Do we take the RTH low during RTH and extend? Do we take the low and extend? I think that's the question that inquiring S&P traders want to know right now. So let's think of what could happen here. All right, so we could get at some point, either pre-market or after the bell, we could get some type of a mild responsive push. And everybody's like, what's happening? What's happening? Are we going to revert? And that responsive push, if we start responding, the 33 halves are where we're looking for. I would expect some resistance there initially. That's my expectation. It may or may not happen. But what could happen here is we could see the resistance ahead, kind of a rounded top and then drop. Because we're looking for the answer to the question, do we take the low? So that could happen like this, with a weak test and then a drop. And then everyone's like, yeah, we're taking the low. Or it could happen with a push through that kind of chops around up here, can't get through, and then falls below these 33 halves and gets to the low in that way. That's a possibility. I also have to say, like, we could even test the high and get the low. I'm not going to draw it, but it's possible. We've had, the S&P has been kind of weird the way it makes tests that you think it would push through and then it doesn't get there. But regardless, there's a few different ways that we could take this low. We could get it ahead like this. We get a test above and then drop. Or we could also just kind of like not even find the buyers to get there and we just start taking this low immediately. So these are a few different ways that we could get to this low. I also want to flag here, any of this could also, depending on the price action context, could become bullish. If any of this becomes bullish, I'm really looking at the 33 halves as the jumping off point, and the first key target is yesterday's high. If we can take yesterday's high and bids firm up in yesterday's range, then I'll be open to continuation higher, and I would target the 60s just because there's nothing else. And then if the 60s get tagged and we're able to continue, 75s. I'm less expecting this today. I'm pretty neutral, but I'm less expecting this today. I'm thinking that we could see a little bit of cooling of what's going on, of what we've had. So also as well, with any test below this area in any way, shape, or form, any test below here that finds reversion above this area, then it's game on. We're back in this area again, looking at 33s, potentially the high with any test. Let's talk about what happens if we don't get the bullishness we've been talking about lately, and instead we get the bearishness. And that conversation, I'll just erase, let's erase a few of these. So we see the different ways that this could get to this price. Let's talk about the different ways. And also we see the different ways that we could get to yesterday's high. Let's talk about what happens if we breach this price. Okay, as always, if we breach this price initially, I would expect to see some buyers here, and we could get, like I always talk about, we could get the reversion right here. I just talked about that. But if we attempt to, and then we can't get back into yesterday's range, and we start pushing the O's, there is a possibility we could just drop, like get a drop through here. It's very possible. We could also find support in here, but I'm thinking if we really lose this area, we might move down and start to pressure the gap zone, which is below here. So falling through the 03s, I'll be open to extension to the 84s, which would be a key target for me today. First key target would be the O's. Next key target, the 84s. This could be an area where, again, there's buyers. We do something like that, and then things could change, and we get the push higher, hold this area, get a pullback, and continue. That could happen there as well. However, we could also get the attempt and then continuation lower. With any continuation lower, 75s, key target. We have this HVN right here. And then, of course, below that, I would kind of expect support to come in ahead of the 64s, which are the prior week's high. But 64s would be my extended target today for the downside. So we have O's is the initial target, secondary 83s, and extended is the 64s. Above the initial target test area, 33s. Above that, 41s are kind of something to pay attention to. Then the 49s, yesterday's high, followed by 60s, and if we really move, the 75s. So this is what I think, this is what excursion would look like in either direction, in my opinion. Let's talk about what happens if we get nothing, if we get like something that we don't even like at all. Let's talk about that. Now I'm not the only one, guys, that is looking at this price. I'm not the only one. A lot of us are. So don't be shocked if we get something like this that pushes up to this area, holds, and then gives a push that either takes the high weekly, like this, and falls back, or fails just ahead of the high and then goes down through 33s. Now we get the low, we do this, and maybe a little bit below, and then we get back up in. What I'm trying to say is if we just do a bunch of this crap today, I think it'll happen below the 41s. So kind of, something that pushes up, maybe gets the 41s, maybe do get above, but then get below, and then the rest of the day we're like O's to here, like just this. That's scalping environment. Be careful with structured trades and continuation if we're just doing this in this area. It's a possibility. As well, we could get something that kind of looks like that and gives you stops like you're trading that, but it's just this like really nasty like downtrend through all of this that just everything looks like it's going to be a rally, but nothing is. So be aware of that. Always be looking at the prior high, the prior low, which side gets taken. But that's what I got for you today. I think it's pretty complete. We've discussed price action in an area where we might see nothing. We've discussed extension away from this area. So I think we're good. And we know kind of our key area is here. First clue today will be with a key area like this, the first clue is going to be, do we get a quick directional move away from it in either direction? Is the move quick and directional, or do we chop around it? That'll be our first indication. We might start to chop and then get directional. Just be aware of what you're trading, guys. It's also Friday. Don't get emotional. This is a day that everybody can screw things up. We don't want to do that. Instead, we want to continue just the great day that we have in progress and keep doing good things. I'm going to wrap it here. We're already long. This is like take 3. But so I hope that everybody has a great day. I hope you already have a great day in progress. And I hope something I said today helps you out. I hope you improve your trading. And as always, I hope you can make somebody else smile today, because that's really the key. Let's get out there, clock some ticks, then wrap it up early and start our weekend. Have a good one, guys. I'll see you on Monday.